Chapter 4. Shocking Changes. At dawn, the rainfall finally stopped. Water droplets on the tree branches were crystal clear, silently sliding off the leaf edges and falling down in the breeze. They traced beautiful arcs in the air before landing on Zhang Xiaofan's face. The chilling sensation woke Zhang Xiaofan from his dreams. He opened his eyes, instinctively about to call Master ... But there was no one around, only Lin Jingyu still sleeping soundly beside him. It seemed like a dream, but the shattered remains of the thatched hut and his slumbering playmate told him that everything had been real. He pondered blankly for a while, shaking his head, then went over and shook Lin Jingyu forcefully. Lin Jingyu mumbled a few words, slowly waking up and rubbing his eyes. Before he could speak, a chill ran through him and he couldn't help but sneeze. Opening his eyes, he saw that they were both drenched, lying under a pine tree in the wild. Bewildered, he exclaimed, "Wasn't I sleeping at home? How did I end up here?" Zhang Xiaofan shrugged. "I don't know either, but I'm freezing. Let's head back." Though full of questions, Lin Jingyu also felt the cold, so he nodded and they both got up and ran towards the village. Even before reaching the village, they sensed something was amiss. Normally, at this hour, the villagers would already be up and about, but today, there was eerie silence with not a soul in sight. Additionally, the morning breeze carried a faint metallic stench. They exchanged worried glances, seeing the apprehension in each other's eyes, and quickened their pace into the village. It didn't take long before they arrived at the entrance and looked down the main road, only to see over 200 villagers, young and old, male and female, from the over 40 households of Grass Temple Village lying lifeless in the open field, bodies rigid, a river of blood with flies swarming, the stench of blood overwhelming. Lin Jingyu and Zhang Xiaofan were stunned by this horrific sight, letting out screams of terror before passing out. It was unknown how much time had passed when Zhang Xiaofan suddenly awoke with a start, sitting upright while gasping for air, hands trembling slightly. In his unconscious state, his mind was filled with nightmarish visions of ghastly faces, blood, and bones. Calming himself, he looked around to find himself in an ordinary room with two small windows. The simple, clean furnishings consisted of just a few pinewood tables and chairs with teapots and cups. Taking up half the room was a large brick bed platform divided into four sleeping areas, besides the one he currently occupied. The bedding next to him was also slightly disheveled, as if recently slept in. The other two sections were neatly made without a crease. Above the four sleeping areas, a horizontal banner hung on the wall with a large Chinese character written. Though it appeared to be an ordinary guest room at an inn, or perhaps shared quarters for disciples seeking apprenticeship. After sitting for a while, Zhang Xiaofan couldn't help but entertain a thought. Perhaps everything from last night was just a nightmare. Maybe he had been sleeping here all along. Maybe when he walked out this room, his mother would greet him with her usual smiling scolding, "You lazy bum." He slowly got off the bed, put on his shoes, and step by step made his way towards the door. The door was ajar. A faint, chilly breeze drifted in through the crack. Step by step he walked, his small hands gripping tighter with each footfall. His heart pounded heavily as he held his breath. Soon he arrived at the doorway, hand resting on the door panel. In that instant, the wooden door seemed to weigh like a mountain, solid as iron. Gritting his teeth, he steeled his resolve and flung the door open with a zhua sound. Bright outdoor light flooded in, causing him to squint. The warm, gentle sunlight falling on him carried a faint warmth, yet his heart plummeted into an abyss of ice. Outside was a small courtyard with a few pines and bamboo bushes and a couple fragrant blossoms in full bloom. In front of the door was a corridor leading outwards. About 4 steps away was a short staircase connecting the courtyard to the corridor. At the corner of the stairs sat a lone child, hand propping up his cheek, staring blankly ahead without moving. Perhaps roused by the sound of the opening door, the child hesitated for a moment before slowly turning his head. Lin Jingyu, Zhang Xiaofan's mouth opened wide, 1,000 questions flooding his mind, but the words caught in his throat without a sound. He wanted to cry out, but a lump in his throat choked back the words. 2 streams of tears silently slid down his cheeks. The 2 children gazed at each other in speechless silence. In the distance, faint birdsong drifted over from an unknown source. The sky was a brilliant azure with a few white clouds. Zhang Xiaofan sat on the other side of the stairs, head lowered as he stared at the stone path in the small courtyard. Silence filled the courtyard. It was unknown how long they sat there before Lin Jingyu finally spoke in a soft voice. I woke up a bit before you. There were a few people in the room then, and I asked them, this is Tongfang Peak of Qingyun Mountain. Zhang Xiaofan murmured, Qingyun Mountain ... double quotes. Lin Jingyu continued, they said they were passing Qingyun disciples who found us after seeing ... seeing the village ... His voice choked up. He rubbed his eyes forcefully, took a deep breath, and went on, they brought us up the mountain. The corner of Zhang Xiaofan's mouth twitched, but he didn't raise his head as he asked, what will we do from now on, Jingyu? Lin Jingyu shook his head despondently, I don't know. As Zhang Xiaofan was about to speak further, an unfamiliar voice came from behind on the corridor. Ah, you're both awake. They turned to see a young Taoist monk in a blue robe with an air of vigor striding over. It's fortunate that several senior masters wish to see you both and ask some questions. Come with me. Zhang Xiaofan and Lin Jingyu exchanged a glance before standing up. Lin Jingyu replied, yes, please, lead the way, senior brother. The young monk looked at Lin Jingyu and nodded. Follow me. Following the Taoist, they exited the courtyard into a longer circular corridor edged with red pillars every to Zhang around 6 meters. Each pair of pillars connected by an arched doorway. They walked along the corridor, passing doorway after doorway and pillar after pillar, realizing that behind each archway was another small courtyard almost identical to the one they had left. These seemed to be the living quarters for Qingyun disciples. Just judging from the sheer scale, there must have been at least 100 of these small courtyard dwellings, indicating the vast number of Qingyun disciples. After walking for a while, they reached the end of the corridor, an immensely tall white wall with a massive gate, consisting of two thick wooden doors 10 jang, around 30 meters high, that one had to crane their necks to see the top. It was inconceivable what kind of timber was used to construct something so monolithic. The young monk showed no reaction, likely long accustomed to passing through from daily routines. Not a hint of the awe shown by the two children. Expression blank. He strode directly through the gate, with Zhang Xiaofan and Lin Jingyu quickly following behind. Upon stepping through this grand gate, the two children unconsciously held their breaths, unable to believe their eyes. This place was almost like a legendary heavenly realm, an expansive square paved entirely in lustrous, white jade reflected dazzling light, making one feel insignificant at first glance. In the distance, white clouds seemed to drift underfoot like gossamer veils.